Hello and welcome back to the beautiful confines of the River Severn once more, and in beautiful Ironbridge, my spiritual home. And with the backdrop behind me, can you blame me? I'm reading yet again from my fourth self-published book, The Spirit of Cricket, a journal, an upside down journal from the 2023 Ashes. A long chapter awaits, and I'm going to allow myself a couple of stumbles and bumbles along the way. Because it's raining, there are drops falling on top of my bald head, but I can't be away from this blooming beautiful place. And anyway, without further ado, Ashes, Summer Musings, Volume 1, Message in a Bottle from a Crazy World. Thursday the 22nd of June 2023. The world of social media and those twin sisters of devilry, Facebook and Twitter, good for you, sure is a crazy old world, and quite frankly I'm relieved to know it just can't be true and can only be the creation of a master tactician, an architect of a larger electrical internet encompassing this one, or an electrical and digital matrix if you will. In the stub your big toe and you'll hop around like a wounded squealing animal real world, I ventured to beautiful Ironbridge with my equally beautiful son for company. We fussed over an English pug dog by the name of Bear and watched the world go by for an hour beside the River Severn. The sweet sound of the bells of St Luke's Church signalled our departure for the cinema with pockets full of old-fashioned sweets from the tiniest shop in the tiniest of English towns, a perfect accompaniment to a musical based on the songs of Take That, which rather pleased the not-so-secret admirer of those Mancunian musical maestros, and what a sheer pleasure it was to watch and see my son singing along with songs, some of which I've held dear to my heart for nearly a quarter of a century. Naturally, my favourite song, A Million Love Songs, reduced this curmudgeonly old cricket fan into tears, and there's a story behind the obvious question of why, but we don't have time for such a maudling dive into the matters of a lovelorn heart. Not now, anyway. The remainder of our afternoon and evening was spent doing what we do best, hanging out together. My son in his gaming world, me sat cross-legged at a small coffee table sucking on the end of my pencil and occasionally writing in between bouts of either annoying him or trying to make him laugh. Treasured times indeed. With my son safely back into the homely comforts of his incredible mother, I treated myself to some late night highlights of the day's cricket from the Ladies' Ashes before booking myself another treat and a return trip to the cinema tomorrow. Then I made the fatal mistake of plugging myself into the Matrix, and for fear of repeating myself, I am so glad the world represented to me via social media can't possibly be real and is just a flash of graphics, texts and images from a created world that simply can't be true. You could sit me down and painstakingly detail in slow, methodical baby steps how the internet is and how it arrives. Undersea cables, modems and routers, passwords and megabit speeds, and I'd still veer toward it all being the work of witchcraft. I've been lucky enough to yet again wander around a beautiful toy town beside the River Severn, go to the cinema and spend the rest of the day with the light of my life, and then I venture into the dark hole of wizardry and witchcraft, and as usual, I don't know if I should be bemused or bloody annoyed. We had the coming spectacle of two of the world's richest men clambering into a boxing ring for some personal, down and dirty fisticuffs, and whilst Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg planned for their heavyweight versus bantamweight shenanigans, 5 more incredibly rich souls appeared lost deep at sea in search of the Titanic. The Titanic! The cost of greed crisis is spiralling to yet more scandalous levels of incredulity. The tabloid editors of the dinosaur media trot out the tired don't panic mantras of the BBC wartime sitcom of decades past Dad's Army. And sadly Shane Warne is back in the news, and I wish it wasn't for the lurid accusations surrounding his death last year, and rather that he was making headlines in the way only the king could. Boy, do I miss his spirit and his sense of vitality and sporting life that he brought to his television career after his record-breaking, era-defining cricket career had come to an end. I loved Warney more than any Englishman should readily admit to, and he would have been in his element in the current and coming weeks of this Ashes summer. Never backward in coming forward with an opinion, he would have been an excitable Aussie during the past 5 cricketing days at Edgbaston in Birmingham, delighting and crowing in their victory, and no doubt with a strong voice as to whether England captain Ben Stokes was right or wrong in his decision to declare his team's first innings on the opening day of the Ashes last Wednesday. Such strong opinions are expected in the swirling madness of social media, and thus on Sunday evening, a mere minutes after Australia's thrilling against the odds 2-wicket victory, I saw a post on Facebook I can only guess was genuine, and whilst not abusive or full of coarse language, was the madhouse of the internet writ large. Apparently, and according to this one brief post which, it should be cautioned and remembered, could have been part of a far longer stream of short, punchy posts, exclaimed that England's defeat on Sunday evening was down to the captaincy of Ben Stokes and his first innings declaration, and "This defeat is on you, Ben Stokes." Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is some accusation. It's all the fault of a captain who, rightly, decided that a few extra runs was far outweighed by putting Australia into bat in a no-win situation for them, and they survived a tricky and trying 20 minutes. It was the right call, a brilliant call in fact, and I'd hazard a guess he'd do the exact same thing given the same match circumstances, in a heartbeat. It was a progressive move aimed at winning a game of Test match cricket and was full of intent and an attacking style that should be applauded. But opinions are like arseholes after all, but mine is strongly correct. But to lay the blame of defeat on an attacking move that happened on day one of a 5-day Test match is frankly ludicrous, and here's the kicker. Shane Warne would have had an opinion, as I have, as did our friend with his Facebook post, and so did millions of other cricket fans around the world, together with the TV commentators who were, on day 4, speculating as to how many runs England would score before they declared their second innings. Australia are the World Test champions, yet every cricketing brain inside the TV commentary box were setting targets for a declaration from an England team chasing victory. Ben Stokes and his team of sporting revolutionaries have ripped up the recent scorebooks, scorecards, and a welter of poor results to be seen as reckless for declaring their first dig with the bat before being cheered on to do the very same with their second one against the Test match champions of the world. Opinions, opinions, all the world for an opinion. Being the night owl watcher of Test match cricket from the other side of the world, please see my book Ashes to Ashes for comprehensive evidence. I watched a fair chunk of the last ladies' Ashes in Australia, and so my guilty pleasure for the coming summer weeks will be the nightly hour of highlights after each day's play, and today was a real cricketing cracker. Winning the toss and opting to bat on a green-tinged wicket full of live grass, Australia scored over 100 runs in each of the day's 3 rain-shortened sessions of play, plus scoring a mammoth 42 boundary 4s and 1 boundary 6 in the process, with Elise Perry rasping 15 boundary 4s before agonisingly falling 1 run short of a Test match century. Aside from Alyssa Healy, and it always pleases me and startles me in equal measure to see yet another Healy with the wicket-keeping gloves for Australia, after the years her uncle Ian and a certain Shane Warne terrorised England. Every Aussie batter from Beth Mooney to Talia McGrath, Ashley Gardner to Annabelle Sutherland chipped in with vital first innings runs, and at 328 for 7 overnight, the visitors must be targeting a total of 375 come mid-morning tomorrow and their first bowl at their English hosts. Under the long-term captaincy of Heather Knight, her England ladies continually grab wickets at vital times, aside from the 100-run partnership between Perry and McGrath mid-innings, with 24-year-old spin bowler Sophie Eccleston yet again the pick of the bowlers with the end-of-day figures of 3 wickets for 70-run runs after having bowled over a third of her team's overall 85 overs. The spinning deliveries that accounted for McGrath and Healy were both players clean bowled, were absolute gems, and I feel sure the king of spin was watching from another universe with immense admiration. My plan for the Lady's Ashes and that guilty pleasure I'm allowing myself this summer is to avoid all scores throughout the day and watch the late night highlights as live, and simply relax into some high quality action and a series that has the makings of being the perfect accompaniment to the men's Ashes that resumes shortly after the conclusion of this test match. Tomorrow's plan is entitled the 4 Seas, those 4 important seas accounting for a moorland stroll along the canal at nearby Wheaton Aston, a cinema trip in the afternoon to see the latest comedic masterpiece from director Wes Anderson, before a curry and cricket highlights to round off another indulgent day and a guilty luxurious pleasure. My plan also includes staying away from the internet and the hothouse of madness that is social media. I much prefer the reality of life. The bells of St Luke's and the reality of life. Perfect timing. So I can't ruin this particular take. It's now 12 noon here in Ironbridge. The rain is still slowly falling. And I'm on the banks of the River Severn. And I do sincerely thank you for watching. It's a book, as I pick it up again, that I'm immensely proud of. The Spirit of Cricket, an upside down journal from the 2023 Ashes. And I do much prefer the reality of life. And that's the reason why I bring myself to my spiritual home as often as I possibly can, even in the falling rain. And I leave you from the banks of the beautiful River Severn, the beautiful, oldest iron bridge in the world behind me, in peace and in solidarity. And I truly and thankfully, sincerely thank you for watching. Peace, everyone.